This is Susan from LifeSkate, and I'm in Lake Placid, New York for the 2008 U.S. Adult Figure Skating Championships. Over 600 skaters from all over the United States have come to Lake Placid to compete in this 4-day event. They'll be competing in singles, pairs, ice dancing, and interpretive free skate. Now, what makes this a competition is the dedicated staff of 38 judges who'll determine which skaters take home the medals. So let's meet some of the judges. At the U.S. Adult Championships, there was a panel of 6 or 7 judges who judged each event. Forget the days of pen and paper. The judges nowadays use very high-tech gadgets to record their marks. I had a chance to chat with 2 of the judges, Cynthia Drayton from Pennsylvania and Wendy Melland from Missouri. What do you think of the competition so far?
I think it's terrific. I'm really happy to be a part of it.
What have you judged so far?
I've judged dance, interpretive, and freestyle.
And what do you feel about the quality of these adults who are here, giving their hearts out?
I think there's some terrific skating out here.
And what do you think of Adult Nationals so far?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I really admire these skaters for getting out there and setting goals and going after them. I think it's wonderful.
What have you judged?
I've judged singles, pairs, interpretive, both light, dramatic.
And how long have you been a judge?
I'll be receiving my 25-year pin this year. So,
and how long have you been a judge?
11 years.
11 years. And you mentioned that you've also competed?
Yes.
In what?
Actually, in the Masters Interpretive event.
How long ago was that?
That was 10 years ago in Lake Placid and also out in Oakland the next year.
And now you're judging the interpretive
Yes.
events. So
Yes.
How is it different from judging some of the singles and other technically minded events?
Well, I think that word technical comes to mind because interpretive is much more about the music, the interpretation of the music. So rather than the emphasis being on, say, the jumps and spins, it's more how the jumps and spins interpret the music. Right? But it's not just jumps and spins, it's the creative use of the music.
And how would you compare the last two? Do you think the quality of the skating or the type of people or the environment, the vibe is different, or?
They've all been wonderful. They've all been very different. I'm really impressed. I think the competition itself has really grown. It's exciting to see more and more skaters getting out there in all the different age, ranges. I'm most impressed with our ladies in the Group 5? Is that what we call them?
Yes.
I think it's the 55 plus, women.
In all categories.
In all categories, yeah, in all categories. I'm so inspired. In fact, I wouldn't be here today as a judge, and I wouldn't have ever even continued my skating and reached the level that I did if it wasn't for a wonderful woman by the name of Mrs. Broders. She happens to be the mother of Yvonne, I'm drawing a blank, Dowlin, and Sherry Dowlin. We have 2 skaters here, Sherry Dowlin, a daughter, and her mother, Yvonne Dowlin, who's in the 55-plus group. In fact, I believe she's in her 80s. And her mother, in other words, Sherry's grandmother, used to skate when she was in her 80s. And she was such an inspiration to me. And I almost gave up skating for gymnastics. And my mother talked to me, and she said, don't make a decision today overnight. I want you to think about it. Can you see yourself skating or doing gymnastics, doing front handsprings, back handspring, flip-flops at the age of 25? And I thought 25 sounded ancient at the time. I'm like, no, I don't know anybody that can do that at the age of 25. And she goes, look at Mrs. Broders, a woman that we both admired and skated with every day. She said, look at Mrs. Broders. She's in her 80s. Skating is something you can enjoy the rest of your life. And that was the decision breaker for me. And as a result, I passed my gold in figures and went on to become a judge. And here I am today, 25 years later as a judge.
What's a typical schedule for a judge? Would you say a typical judge is at a lot of events or a few events?
A lot.
Well, as much as you want. They really need us and can use us.
Yeah, you could judge every weekend if you could.
Mm-hmm. And what's been your judging schedule like for this year? What are some of the events that you've been involved with?
Well, I did the national championships this year, and that's the only major one I've done. But on my plate, I have another one at the end of April, another 2 in June, 3 in July, and 2 in August. And
I haven't even stopped to count, to be honest. I attended nationals actually as what we call a non-working official. If we aren't assigned to nationals on years where we're not officially on the panel, a lot of judges like to go just to stay current and on top of things, and we do what we call practice judging. So I was at Nationals this year, and I was a team leader and a judge in Vienna, Austria in February, and I took a team of 12 wonderful young skaters from the United States to what we call a young international competition, and that was very exciting. And I do a lot of local and small non-qualifying competitions.
Can you talk a little about judging nationals versus some of the local or regional competitions?
Nationals, in some ways, you know you've been selected in May, and you actually end up being selected for a lot of other and requested to do a lot of other events leading up to nationals so that you are really prepared. And actually nationals, this was my first experience, and it's the icing on the cake. It's wonderful. It's very different from anything else, I think. So we're selecting our team our world team.
5 more minutes in this warm-up session.
There are also other important officials at this event, the referees, one of whom is Kathleen Krieger, who makes sure that the competition runs smoothly.
Well, at this competition particularly, I'm acting as a referee, so I time the events, I make sure the right skaters are on the warm-up, that all the skaters are giving the same fair opportunity to compete. After the skater's done skating, I make sure the ice is ready for the next skater, and the judges have enough time to put in their marks before we move on to the next skater.
Do judges specialize in which events they're able to judge?
Well, you have to be able to judge a category, so anybody can judge the interp pretty much. But I can only do singles and pairs, and some people only do dance, and there's many judges which are called double duty judges, and they can do anything.
So how do you feel the competition is going so far?
Well, I think the skaters look like they're having fun. And what's different than most singles competitions is it seems like there's a lot more camaraderie here, and it seems like the skaters support each other.
Can you talk a little about your own skating background and how you came to judge figure skating?
Oh, I skated as a child, and I've always loved skating, and I didn't want to teach. So this seemed like a perfect way to stay in skating.